My name is Elliane Anwander. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been down here for almost 30 years now. I grew up in Chicago, and that's where my parents still live. My parents and one brother are in Chicago. The rest of us kids are spread around the country. I first found out about the VA benefit back around 2000 from a man that I worked with. He had gotten it for his father, and he told me to look into it and gave me the name of the benefit and said, go on the website. I told my dad about it, and I said, Dad, I really think you ought to look into this. And Dad said, no, that money is for the guys that don't have anything. And at that time, both of them were still living at home, and my dad was actually taking care of my mother. Her dementia wasn't, as bad as it is now. So he just, absolutely refused to look into it at all, wouldn't even listen, because other guys needed it and he didn't. And what turned the tide was in 2008 when my mother had a stroke, and then we had to get live-in care for them, and he started paying out $7,200 or $7,400 a month. First it was going to be more than that for the nursing home, so we were again fortunate that we could bring her home so they could be together. So that was 2008, and I saw a flyer. I think I got a flyer in the mail, maybe it was from your office, and attended a presentation that you made with a nice slide presentation, and I got tons of information. I said, Dad, we got to do this, because by that time he was really worried that he was going to run out of money. And that sincerely and realistically would have happened. Well, I can tell you I attended your presentation in March of 2010, and in April I went to Chicago, and I took a couple of the slides that you had in your presentation to show my dad that it was something that really could be done. Well, the application itself was easy because you went through it with me, and the part that was and really the application was long and tedious, but the questions were not difficult. The only hard part, I think, came to the financial piece of it. Just getting all the information that was required, I think, was the first challenge. Getting that information all together, prescriptions and costs and all that sort of thing. Then we filled out the application. I took it to Chicago, and they required that my dad be there in person. So at that time he was 93 and with a walker. So anyway, we load him in the car, my husband, my dad, my brother, and myself. And my dad and my husband both wore their Navy caps. They said, this might help. So they wore their Navy caps. And we went in and met with the woman, the young lady that was taking the applications. And the first thing she said to me was, no, I think you've been misinformed. And I said, no, I have not been misinformed. I know that this is a benefit. I've been on the VA website. I've met with numerous people, and it's been submitted through the VA office in Jacksonville. And I think I asked her if there was a superior that we could talk to, and she went and got another man who did know about the benefit. So then it proceeded. But that was almost when your heart is in your throat and you think, oh my gosh, what's happening next? He was not approved right away. In fact, he was rejected. We submitted it in the beginning of March. It was another, as I said, trip to Chicago for me. And in April, May, June, I believe it was June, we got a letter stating that they needed more information. They needed more pieces of things that I knew we had submitted. And I might be off on the months, but it was, it was several weeks. And so then we had to submit more information then. And then, as the whole process went on, that's when we got a letter saying that he had been rejected. And we had to, again, submit more information. And it was actually things that we had submitted before anyway. They just had misplaced, or somehow in the transmission it had gone astray. He actually got approved in October. We submitted this in March of 2010, and he was approved in October. And they did have a retroactive amount. Dad got about $12,000. He just couldn't believe it. None of us could. We were so, pleasantly surprised. But he was totally, overwhelmed that this money would be coming from the government for him. He was in 2 wars, for goodness sakes. He was on the Savannah when it was bombed and got called back in for Korea. So he is a service veteran, war veteran. He said, it's amazing that they're willing to pay me this much money. But it's been a lifesaver. Well, you have to assume that you're going to be able to apply, that you're going to qualify, because you can. If you have less money, it's maybe easier, but even if you have more money, you can still run out with the cost of nursing homes. So assume that you're going to be approved, and then find out all the information you need and start gathering the information. Well, my best source was the Veteran Service Center. You and I were on the phone practically weekly, I think. We got to be good, fast friends, first-name friends. So the Veteran Service Center, I was also on the va.gov website. And it's that, again, is very cumbersome. There's a lot of information there, and much more than anybody could ever, digest by just looking at it. So I think those two sources, your presentation and the PowerPoint that you did, was very helpful in helping me show my dad what we were talking about. So that was a really good source of information, and the website. And I never called the VA directly for anything. I didn't have to. I had you.